Welcome, everybody. We're just going to give everybody a few minutes here to get logged in, so just bear with us here. Okay, it looks like we have most people have joined us, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining me, tuning in here to talk to you a little bit about modern diversification and what that means to you and how you can apply it to your situation. So before we get started, I'm just going to tell you a few items of on the agenda for today. First and foremost, we're going to give you education today. That's the goal, about making sure that your portfolio is designed in a way that it can weather all of the volatility in the market that we've experienced in the past and unknown future. So we're going to talk to you about that. But we're also going to ask you for something. If you wouldn't mind giving us some feedback, constructive criticism is how we get better. So we'd be excited to hear that from everybody. And then also, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat box there. And we won't be answering questions live, but we'll definitely follow up with you and make sure that we get all of the answers out to you. So that's for you guys to take heed of. And then lastly, and most importantly, some other items that we'll be offering you throughout the webinar today and then through the end. So about mid webinar, about five to 7 minutes in, I'll be sending out a white paper to each of you that's all about modern diversification. It's an article. And then at the end, we'll be offering a free 15-minute phone consultation, and we'll also be sending you, as a follow-up for registering today, we'll be sending you the white paper called Building Your Fiscal House to Weather the Elements. We'll be popping that in an email to you, so make sure that you gave us an email address that works if you'd like to receive that. So without further ado, again, thank you everyone so much for joining in. We're very excited to be rolling out this information to you. The world of investing has changed quite a bit over time. And so we'll talk a little bit about what that looks like to each of you and how to position your assets in the best possible way moving forward. So let's think about a little bit of the past. So in the past, we learned that diversification, as far as our investments go, is our friend. And a lot of us have investment experience in our 401ks. So let's just start there. So a lot of times you log into your 401k portal and you have, 10 or 50 different mutual funds that you can choose from. And inside those mutual funds are investing in a stock and bond mix. And so the old way of thinking of diversifying was that stocks were your risky asset and bonds were your safe asset. And somewhere along the way, the mutual fund came along and it was going to manage this money for you and manage this diversification for you. And so today, a lot of us have our 401ks and we have several different mutual funds in there. But can you tell me, inside your mutual funds, which stocks do you actually own? Can you also tell me, out of those 10 or 50 different mutual funds that you own, how many of them own Apple stock? How many of them own Google, right? So the idea of diversification is to have different buckets of money working in different ways in our portfolio. And that's very much true today. Nothing has changed as far as diversification works. However, the way that we're diversifying needs to work. Oh, and I see a question there. Yeah, definitely keep the questions coming, you guys. So definitely diversification still needs to be the number one thing that you look for your investment portfolio. But we need to make sure that our modern diversification strategy is actually modern. So let me talk to you a little bit about that. So again, earlier I said stocks used to be viewed as your risky asset and bonds were viewed as your safe asset. And as we get older or closer to retirement, the age-old thinking was that we would put more in bonds and less in stocks as we got older. And the reason that we did that is because as we get closer to retirement, we need to what? Right, reduce our risk in our investment portfolio. Because when we get closer to retirement, we need to make sure that we don't weather some huge downturn in the market or correction, and therefore our retirement date doesn't get to be the date that we wanted it to be. So again, that's the old thinking of diversification. So stocks and bonds, and then mutual funds came along and they were going to manage it for you. Does anyone have an idea what year that idea of diversifying kind of came about? Or the theory, maybe even that it's that, you know, if you have an idea, go ahead and pop it in the chat box. If you have an idea of the theory that kind of came out that was around that idea of diversifying. Oh, I see some people are getting it close. Yes. So exactly. So modern portfolio theory is the idea that you have different buckets of money working in different ways in your portfolio. Well, modern portfolio theory was actually designed in 1952. A lot has changed since 1952, and the way that we're diversifying needs to change as well. And so instead of using just stocks and bonds or maybe several different mutual funds to diversify our investments, we need to make sure that we're using true asset class diversification. So what does that look like to you guys? So true asset class diversification looks like using separate buckets of money in your portfolio that actually work and move independently of each other. Think back to 2000, the tech bubble burst. If you had stocks and bonds and mutual funds in your portfolio, were the bonds protected? Or when the market fell, did it all go down, right? Over that time period. Most of you are sitting there thinking, yeah, it all went down. Fast forward, financial crisis, 2008 into 09. It was a 53.1% drop in the S&P 500. For some of you, this time period may just feel like yesterday. How did your portfolio weather that storm? Did the bonds protect you? Most likely not. A lot of times now, today, we're seeing stocks and bonds move pretty much in unison. And so how do we actually get the diversification that we need? I'm going to take a break here and go ahead and give you guys the download. Here it is. Okay, everyone should see that modern diversification article that I wanted to share with you. This is a great takeaway for you to read after the webinar today and just kind of harness everything I'm about to explain. And then at the end of the webinar, for those of you that stay through the end, we'll be offering actually a free complimentary 15-minute phone call with myself or someone else on our team, just to talk to you about diversification and how we might be able to help educate you about ways to enhance your investment portfolio. So that being said, the idea of asset class diversification is the idea that we have at least 3 separate buckets in your portfolio that work truly independently from the other. And so here they are. You ready? So the first one is your market-based assets. You guys have these already, but instead of, investing through a mutual fund, as you can see behind me, I have this Mutual Funds Exposed book. It's not written by us, it's written by another professional, but really great book talking about all the fees and everything inside of mutual funds. Typically in our office, we're not recommending mutual funds to our clients. And the reason why is because they're not transparent. What do you own, right? Which stocks are in there, which bonds, who knows? And how much are you paying in fees? Most people have no idea. In fact, some people even think, well, I'm not paying anything for my investments. Well, you're definitely paying for something for your investments. No one works for free. So in our office, if we're going to be accessing stock market investments, we'd rather access individual stocks or even a different type of index fund called an exchange traded fund or an ETF. These can be more nimble and less costly as far as fees go. So, but first and foremost, we prefer individual stocks because there's no underlying hidden fees in holding a stock. And we use typically a registered investment advisor to manage those stocks for our clients so that they can get the best kind of management possible. Our job as financial planners is to sit with our clients, identify their goals, and develop that plan for them. And so most of the time on a day-to-day basis, we're not able to know what's going on all the time in the markets, especially if we're sitting with clients and doing our job, creating their income plan and their financial plan. So that's the first bucket. The second bucket is using investments that aren't always directly correlated to the stock market volatility. These may be things like interval funds. You can go research them, type them into Google. Interval funds are comprised of some privately held investments and some publicly traded. So an interval fund may not be directly correlated to the market volatility. That second bucket's really important, comprised of private investments in some capacity. So think about the value of your house. The most recent time that you saw the market go down, did the value of your house go down just because the stock market went down, 3, 4, 5% one day? No, right? Because it's non-correlated, and that's what that second bucket is all about. So the third bucket is another important bucket, but this is me stepping from a securities investment advisor over to acting as an insurance agent. So, and some of these are securities as well, but a lot of these tools are insurance tools that we use through the insurance company, and they're able to give our clients some sort of principal protection, whether it's 0 is the floor, or whether it's some kind of buffered type of tool that protects us on the downside up to a certain percentage. So this can be a way that we can add in a principally protected piece of the portfolio. And so when the market does fall apart again, like it did during the financial crisis or the tech bubble burst, or most recently volatility that we've seen, that we don't have 100% of our portfolio losing those large numbers. This asset class, this third bucket, can also be a great place for us to set up our client's own personal pension, to set up an income stream that they can never outlive, even after they've spent all of the money that was in that one bucket. So those are the three main buckets that we use in our client portfolio construction. Like I said, we went ahead and gave you the Modern Diversification article. The next step is to go ahead and take advantage of scheduling a free 15-minute consultation with our office. I'm going to go ahead and start that there so you guys can take advantage of scheduling that time. Go ahead and just click on the button and get your time on the calendar. And third offer is, and takeaway is that if you'd like that, that white paper called Building Your Fiscal House to Weather the Elements, it's several pages. It's all about the how-tos on what we do. Go ahead and shoot us an email at clientservice@clarkfinancialplanning.com, and our team will go ahead and get that white paper out to you. Again, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. Hope all of you are doing well, and look forward to tuning in and seeing you again soon. Thank you so much. Have a great day.